What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the CanesInSight podcast. I'm your host, Peter Ariz, alongside D-Money. Great season for Canes Hoops. Came to an end on Saturday night against UConn. We will get, to the future of Canes Hoops moving forward, but just want to, show them their respect for the great year that they had and, taking the program to another level. But Scrimmage over the weekend, D. We told you guys we would get to it this week, so let's just get right to it.
Yeah, and those of you watching on YouTube or on Brid TV or in the new Canes Insight Studios, this is the beginning. We haven't done anything yet, so you're not really seeing too much, but this is going to be real nice when we're done doing our work here. But a lot of good stuff coming in the future, a lot of exciting things. We're going to be really pushing this to a new level, just like the program hopefully is doing. So wanted to talk about the scrimmage. You've read a little bit about it. I was able to attend and see how the team looked. To me, the most important thing, now that we have a year of evidence with the program, is comparing apples to apples. The defense is going against the offense. You don't know if the defense is doing good or the offense is doing good, but you can compare how we looked last year in spring to how we looked this year. So you compare the systems particularly. And I can say unequivocally, this offense, to this point, is scoring more points and is operating at a higher level. That's just clear as day. Is it all the way there yet? No, but they're moving the ball. They're playing with more pace. The splits, the openness of the offense is not as congested as it was last year, and the receivers are playing at a higher level. Again, this year to last year. Just some specific highlights from the scrimmage this past Saturday. Tyler Van Dyke came out very sharp, was able to move the team up and down the field on the first drive, leading to a touchdown run by Terrell Walden, hitting Restrepo all over the place. Jacoby George had a very nice scrimmage as well and was good from the jump. Jakari Brown, inconsistent. He's had some ups and downs in spring, getting used to the new offense and not having the ability to run like he does in padded games. He's had to really develop his throwing. But he did hit Ray Joseph, the true freshman from Edison, on a long play down the sideline, sort of a busted coverage, but was able to make the throw and score a long touchdown there. Also had a run that probably would have been a long touchdown if they were live. Van Dyke came back, had another nice drive, hit Jacoby George for a touchdown on a post. Nice pocket movements, getting plenty of time from the offensive line, and throwing downfield. Again, much more so than you saw last year at this time. Cam Kitchens had a beautiful interception of Van Dyke, but in general, the offense operated at a high level. One person I want to highlight, I mentioned him last podcast, but he's really stepping up, Don Chaney. With these scrimmages, you can see guys tackle to the ground, so you can really see the balance, the ability to absorb contact of these running backs, full pads. Chaney is looking the part. Looks like he has burst. He's north and south. He can still show that jump cut when he needs to. His hip and knee looks healthy, but he is showing the burst upfield, power, breaking tackles, doing a lot of really nice things at the running back position, looking healthy, looking strong, looking like what we need with Javonte Citizen. You don't know what you're going to get with him during the season because of injury. Rooster gone, Fletcher and Chris Johnson, haven't seen him yet. So imperative that Don Chaney took this opportunity, and I think he's done that and shown that. Again, receiver, Kobe Young was out, but you saw Restrepo, you saw Jacoby George, Isaiah Horton at that X position. He does some of the things that Kobe Young does, very talented physically, getting better. Not quite all the way there from a consistency standpoint, but you see improvement. Robbie Washington, again, a little nicked up, but he's made some plays.
Yeah, I was going to ask you any young guys stick out.
Ray Joseph, again, I mentioned the long touchdown, but he's also made himself available quite a bit. But it's going to be Restrepo. It's going to be Kobe Young. It's going to be who else can step up, who else can be added through the portal as far as the guys at the wide receiver position. Something else that caught my eye is the young tight ends. Talking about Riley Williams, Jackson Carver. Both of those guys looked the part from a length standpoint. They got it. They can both move. They're both quick. They're both hands catchers. Riley Williams further along as a receiver and just an overall player. But Jackson Carver, a lot of upside, almost 6'7", big frame. I thought he'd probably be a defensive end down the road, but he looks good at tight end. He can catch the ball. He can catch in traffic. More of a lacrosse player, multi-sport guy, track, basketball, hockey, did everything, which you love. Developing as a player, was injured this year at Culver, so he didn't play as much. Or sorry, he believes at Loomis Chaffee. He transferred to another prep school, but didn't play that much due to injury. But he's catching on. You can see the upside. He's not as raw as you might think. He can still make plays. He's just not game ready yet, but has quickness at 6'7" that you might not expect when you look at his body type. He can run. He can catch. Again, he's going to be big.
And these guys getting an opportunity with Arroyo, still on the mend.
Right, and Cam McCormick, more of a blocker. Memorelli out. Khalil Brantley transferred to Southern Methodist. So these are guys that are getting a chance, and you can see their talent. And then, of course, offensive line. While we're sticking to the offense, just much, much, much improved in terms of the first team. You talk about left tackle Jalen Rivers, lockdown, Javion Cohen from Alabama, Matt Lee, who gets rave reviews from everybody you talk to as a center from UCF. Ines Cooper showed flashes last year, way slimmed down. He's he's not skinny, but he's lighter than he was last year, and he'd already lost weight to play last year. So he's continuing to go down in weight, still massive. And then right tackle Francis Mauagoa looks like he's going to be one of those freshman starters. Samson Okalola, he's your second team left tackle, but doing a nice job. Strength's the thing with him. But as far as a second team offensive line, pretty weak, but he is by far, to me, the best guy, certainly the most talented guy on that second team offensive line. But overall, offense much improved. Did they win the scrimmage? Hard to say, but my takeaway was this offense looks a lot more fun to watch.
Well, and you said it at the outset that you'd like to compare apples to apples, and although it's not the same coaching staff, and I asked you the question last week, I feel like this is going to be a recurring theme. We have the same quarterback that we had when Rhett Lashley was the offensive coordinator. The more you're starting to see, and it's I'm sure only a quarter of what the offense is gonna become, but how similar are the offensive styles?
Similar. Lashley was faster. The pace with Lashley was the fastest in the country. I don't think we're going to be that fast. We'll be faster than last year, but not faster or as fast as we were with Lashley. Also, Lashley was really good at just scheming up wide open touchdowns. One a practice where it was a Mallory or a Rooster. You saw it in games where they'd be just wide open. You don't see it as much, but again, the offense is still vanilla to a certain degree.
Right.
You're not seeing all the wrinkles, so that will come. But it's closer to that than you saw last year, certainly.
It better be.
And one guy I want to no question. One guy I want to mention, Emory Williams at quarterback, having some nice days at practice, stringing together some nice days. My concern with him has always been the athleticism when it's live and can he move around. He's a big kid. But in terms of a controlled setting in practice where more of a 7-on-7 feel or just the quarterbacks aren't live, he does have good footwork in the pocket, nice release, very well schooled, more arm strength than I thought. He really can drive the ball. He's not like a Sheriff's or a Matoka that can't throw. This guy's got arm strength and also has a really tight spiral. And just still learning. He's not like some guy that's going to come in and start as a freshman anywhere, but like what I've seen from him in this setting, I think the last couple days have been very good for him.
So defensively, you mentioned Cam Kitchens in the beginning of the show as a standout. Did anyone else catch your eye or any overriding themes for that side of the football?
I'd say Ahmad Moten. I mentioned him a bit last week, but he's continuing to emerge. Is he going to be the superstar, All-America this year that you want? No. But he is progressing into a guy that looks the part, looks like a quality defensive tackle in a real big boy defensive line rotation. He's got size. He's 310 plus without being fat. He has length. He has explosive burst. There's a guy that Oklahoma wanted badly, Brett Venables, who knows what he's doing, wanted Moten. And this is a guy who emerged later in his career, kind of a late bloomer, and you're seeing started a little bit slow here, but now is really picking it up. He's been starting every practice. The starting D-line's been consistently Chance Williams, Nigel Lee Kelly, Brandon Dean, and then Moten as your big defensive tackle. And he's making plays in the backfield. He's stout. Again, looks the part. You're going to add to that defensive line rotation a lot with the Leonard Taylor and Jared Harrison Hunt. I think a lot of the comments coming out of the scrimmage were that our defensive line is thin, and that's right. I mean, you had walk-ons all over that second-team defense, particularly at defensive tackle. Number 84, I don't know his name, but he was out there quite a bit. But in terms of the starters, going against the starters, which is good on good typically, Ahmad Moten really impressed me with how he's coming along. Brandon Dean, he's going to do his things. The Purdue transfer, 290 pounds, more of a penetrating kind of guy. But those
But
two,
it sounds like Moton's a guy with a ton of upside.
and he's going to be what you want in that rotation. Now, you want three guys like that, maybe two guys like that, and then the guy who's super dynamic first-round pick. But he's at least a step in that direction at a position where we need more of those. And he's getting a chance to shine like Chaney because of the injuries, and he's doing a real nice job. Chance Williams, very good against the run. He's making plays. The two freshmen are getting a lot of run with the first team, which is Jaden Wayne and Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain is, we've talked about him. He's given everybody the work. He's good against the run. He's good against the pass. Thicker than I thought. Just more. He looks better body type wise than I thought he might have looked in high school. At least when you see him on Green Tree. He's given Sampson the business. He's tough to block no matter who's out there.
Well, he's been. I mean, he did it not only week in, week out in high school, but then you saw it, in the All-Star circuit as well. So, look, again, like you said, it's no surprise that he's handling business, but the way that he looks is more of the, again, I don't want to call it a surprise, but it's something you may not have been banking on this early, at least.
No, and David Stone, the blue chip best defensive tackle in the country, who was at practice watching Ruben Bain do his thing, commented on his ability. He's someone, I'm not going to do a full bank this week, but David Stone's somebody that Miami feels very good about. Had a really, really good visit to Miami. They need defensive tackles, like we mentioned. This guy's the best in the country. He definitely looked the part in person. Not a lot of fat on that guy. He's ready to rock. But he saw Bain, who Bain dominated against IMG with 3 sacks, and he was there live for that. Also seeing his old teammate Jaden Wayne play. And Wayne, not as dynamic a pass rusher as Bain, but he's making plays. He's stout. He's fast. He's out there with the ones and doing his thing. Some other freshmen that you're seeing with the ones, Bobby Washington, I mentioned him last week, continues to make plays, a lot of tackles, very active, fast, at that same position. Every game, every
Flies
practice.
to the ball.
Yeah, you hear about him, and every time I'm out there, he's hard to miss. He's not as big as you want weight-wise right now, but the height, the speed, the change of direction. I was worried about the instincts because you don't know. He was off the edge a lot in high school. Now he's more of an off-ball linebacker. No problem. And when he does take a false step, he's a legit 4-4 guy, so that speed is there. Will he be able to tackle to the ground when it's fully live? He's done it so far. That's going to be more of a test as he puts weight on and just continue to do the right things. But continues to flash. Bobby Washington. One more name I want to mention at the linebacker position, Francis Mauigoa, Francisco.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, the linebacker from Washington State. He looks like a dude. He's got stopping power. You're seeing a little more experimentation with the other linebacker spots, whether it's a Corey Flagg next to Mauigoa, or it's a Keontre Smith next to Mauigoa, a Wesley Basank next to Mauigoa. The constant is Mauigoa. He is going to start. He is going to play a lot. He's going to be a leader of this defense with the way that he can run. He's pretty good against the pass. Has gotten a couple of picks. But really, what you notice about him, size, and then when he tackles people, they stop going forward. It's not a drag down situation. He has stopping power. And Miami needs some of that at the linebacker position, and he's bringing that to the table.
On the back end, other than Kitchens, anyone stand out?
Position I'm worried about. I mean, that defensive backfield, James Williams is hurt. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering why we haven't talked about James Williams has been out. He'll be back for the season.
There's so much uncertainty at the corner spot.
Corner, Devontae Brown to me looks the best.
Yeah.
But
my money would be on him being the guy.
Yeah, they need a number 1 corner in my view. Chris Graves up and down, makes some plays, but still young. Terry Roberts is smaller. Darryl Porter smaller. So they need to be a number 1 kind of guy. We'll see what Damari Brown brings as a true freshman. Wish he was here already. But that's a position to watch. I felt a lot better about that position last year with Tyreek Stevenson and DJ Ivey. And those guys didn't even perform because of other issues going on with the defense. But if you're just talking about eye tests, again, apples to apples, this year, last year, we looked a lot better at the corner position last year, size, speed, etc. Safety, Markeith Williams is still starting, still doing his thing. But there needs to be more help at both of those spots. I think a transfer corner, a transfer safety will really bring those rooms together.
Well, listen, Mario's already said it. They're going to be active in the portal, and that'll be, in a few weeks now, that'll heat back up again. So it'll be interesting to track that. It sounds like it was an eventful scrimmage. Still, a few more weeks here until the spring game. Obviously, some more storylines will emerge, but it seems like some of these young guys starting to assert themselves and really put themselves in position for when the season starts, even when some of these guys come back from injury.
Yeah, one guy I want to mention too that I didn't. Thomas Gore, small, not going to be a starter or anything like that, but he made some plays against the second-team offensive line, which is not the strongest, but you could see how he causes problems for teams and will fight his way into the rotation, although he's not going to be a feature guy like Dean, for example, who's also smaller but is starting. I think Gore more of your rotation guy, but starting to show you a little bit of the disruptive ability he has.
So, looking at Canes hoops now, moving forward, obviously that was a tough loss on Saturday night, but like we said at the beginning of the show, super proud of what these guys did, and you got to be excited about the future moving forward. Jordan Miller's gone. Isaiah Wong, most would assume that he's gone, but I don't think that's a 100% slam dunk. We've seen him already once enter the draft, without signing with an agent, seeing what his market looked like at the next level, and then deciding to come back. I wouldn't completely count that out, but let's just assume those two guys are gone. You have a Nigel Pack coming back, a Norchad Omier, who really is the heart and soul of this team, a Wooga Poplar, an Anthony Walker still has some eligibility left, and then there's obviously some young guys. We have Bensley Joseph, who you'd expect to continue to take that next step, and then what Coach L and his staff is most likely going to do in the transfer portal, and we've seen them do it before. You got a Nigel Pack last year, who was considered a top 5 transfer out there, but some of the guys that they've taken in the past haven't necessarily been the biggest of names. Jordan Miller was not a huge guy, when he transferred over at the time that he did. So he's been able to pick up guys who fit what they're looking for in the system. And with the guys they have coming back, I'd expect this to be a top 10 to 15 team preseason.
Wong is obviously the story there, kind of like last year. Miami was in a similar spot last year with Wong. To me, if you're not going to be a lottery pick, you've seen guys like Jalen Brunson. Was Brunson a 4-year guy? He stayed for a while.
He was a 3 or 4 year guy. I don't know if he was 4 years, but
he came into the league fully formed, right? He had game already. Right. Wong just started really hitting threes this year to me consistently, and he has more room to grow as a shooter off the dribble deep, in my view, in college. His decision-making certainly could use some work as he's going to be more of a point guard in the pros. So why not go to the pros as a fully formed product? Maybe you're, again, like Brunson, like a high second-round pick, late first-round pick, but you have your game ready to go so you can go right on the field, on the floor and play. That to me makes a lot of sense, especially if you're getting paid. We'll see how the NIL situation works out, but that's something to watch. To me, we talked about it off air. You were talking about the need for a center transfer. I don't see Omier as anything but a center, so I'd like them to work around Omier and maybe get a longer 6'9", 6'10" power forward, someone bigger than what Miller was.
Who can defend? You need another body in there, and when we were talking about it before the show, but you need a guy. You need some more length in there, and AJ Casey can be that next year. He's another guy we didn't mention. Favor Ire, I don't know if I'm saying his name correctly, but he's a guy who saw sparing minutes this year, but wasn't really obviously part of the rotation. You have guys coming in. Again, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Nwoku, I believe that's his name. But you're going to need some more length coming in, I believe. Again, Jordan Miller was one of your bigger guys, so right off the bat there, you're going to have to replace him. But I think moving forward, it's a very, very solid core.
Oh, no question. And Omier's a unique player. Pack with his range, these are unique guys that already have a lot of confidence. Another decision maker I think would help. We talked about it again off air. Miller handled the ball a lot for his position and passed very, very well. It was a key aspect of his game was the passing, key part of this team. So you lose a veteran decision maker like that. Pack's not a real point guard. Wong is not a real point guard. Poplar, that's not his game. So another guy that maybe just gives you 3 or 4 assists a game, just moves the ball, makes that gets the kind of the hockey assist sort of thing. That would help quite a bit to replace what Miller brings. You're not going to replace all the things Miller does, but if there's one aspect of his game that I would miss the most, it's just that smart decision making with the basketball, which kind of calmed down the guards who maybe weren't the true point guard decision makers.
Harlan Beverly is another guy who could come back. You know, you have to wonder if there's certain guys on the roster who may look for a more prominent role elsewhere, right? So, you know, he's a guy who's been a solid contributor to this Miami team. But I would imagine there's going to be some roster shuffling, you know, moving forward with guys that we're talking about right now. And then, you know, there's some guys who really didn't see much time this year who I know they're excited about, a Chris Watson, a Danilo Jovanovic, who I've heard some people compare him to a slower Jordan Miller, you know, very crafty, can distribute the ball, good footwork, can shoot the ball, pretty well. So, again, we've seen guys take huge leaps. Wooga Poplar is going to have to be that guy at the end of the day, whether Isaiah Wong comes back or not. Obviously, if he leaves, he'll really be a guy who steps up in a role where he's taking a lot more shots and things of that nature, and just being, you know, more of a. This year he was more of a role player who would step up in certain situations, and we would see the flashes of what he could do. But he will have to be a prominent guy for this team next year. I was listening to a couple podcasts last week leading up to the game. I think one of them was the CBS Sports college basketball one, and one of the guys actually said he had him, Jordan Miller, in the 25 to 35 range, and you know that might be a little early for him. But if that ends up being where he goes after what he did in this run, that'd be pretty big for him. And then they also said though that Wooga Poplar would be the real long-term top prospect for Miami, and I think you saw Dan Hurley say it as well, that he's a future NBA player. So, and then again, Coach L said something similar, that his trajectory is just through the roof. So, to me, he's that guy that takes the step and has to be really the biggest, you know, other than what we know about Pack and Omier, his growth could be exponential.
It's interesting. The 3 most talked about players on the team, you would say Wong, Pack, and Omier. They might not be the best NBA prospects. It might be, like you said, Miller and Poplar with their length and versatility. Also, Poplar, a baseball player growing up, so the basketball instincts maybe are behind some of these other guys. So the more he plays, the more confidence he has. And when he really just starts letting it rip, I think he can do some really cool things just because of his touch. It's one thing to have touch. It's another thing to shoot with total confidence that you're not going to get pulled and you have that green light. That's how you get those really explosive games. He's the kind of guy that with his touch, his ability to get shots, because he's long too, it's not like he struggles to get looks. When that confidence part comes in, the sky's the limit for what he can do.
And you just, again, these names will start to emerge in the transfer portal over the next few weeks. You're already seeing a lot of guys making decisions, you know, over the last week or so, because, you know, if you aren't playing in the tournament, you have a head start on the portal, and obviously there's, you know, all these schools other than the 4 that just played this last weekend who have been able to get out there and start to recruit. But you would imagine that Coach O and his staff are already kind of putting out their targets, and you know may not be exactly pinpointed to who they want, but definitely putting out parameters for what they're looking for. And you can only imagine what you can't go out there and say that this is a flash pan success for Miami now that they've done it 2 years in a row and really seemingly turned the corner, because what Larinaga had already done before this year, you could say was miraculous in a way. But from a recruiting standpoint, it's such tangible evidence for this staff to point at that it should be easy for them to basically go get whoever they want. So natural progression, D, next year we'll probably lose in the national championship game, and then 2 years from now they'll take it home. If it goes on this path, hopefully they can bypass losing in the title game and just win it all next year.
Yeah, that's they thought it was a one-off last time. They proved it wasn't. So experience going up, the beliefs going up, and the recruiting without the whole NCAA cloud and everything that's been in the past. All systems go. You got the stadium, or sorry, you got the arena, you got the fan base, you got no NCAA, you got the proof of concept. Nothing keeping Miami. Certainly got the NIL. You got nothing keeping from Miami from being a top program in the ACC.
And Coach L's already said he's not stopping anytime soon. So, I think Miami has him for another good 4 or 5 years at the very least. But who knows? I don't want to put a cap on it because the way that he's going, I think that Miami fans are in for something special over the next 10 years or so, man, as a basketball program. So we will be back next week, talking more football as always. Probably have some basketball portal news as well, but a ton of stuff coming. Again, this is our first show in the new CanesInSight studios. It will be completely revamped over the next couple weeks, but go out there, like, subscribe, comment on all the channels. Obviously, we're on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all the good stuff. So check in with us next week. We'll be back here on the CanesInSight podcast.
Go Canes.